As an avid horror game enjoyer, I have been witness to the evolution the masses have undergone in regard to what they consider good horror. Or should I say de-evolution? Ladies and gentlemen, in the bygone era, games like Amnesia and Outlast were considered peak horror. You'd see someone recommending Outlast to you in the dark alley of a Reddit well, saying how it's an obscure gem and that they'd never seen anything like it, only for you to play it and discover that it is just like the other 999 obscure gems that are nothing more than glorified Jumpscare galleries. But sometime in the early 21st century, a band of video essayists plotted together to overthrow the washed-up horror constitution made up of games like Outlast and DTA Unity asset flips.
Got it. Oh my god, it's a fucking baby doll, holy shit!
And spearhead a new age led by genuinely worthy games such as Lost in Vivo and Petscop, with the latter being so good that you can't even play it. These video essayists weren't even a group, but rather just pyrocynical, honestly. Man, woke the shit that made the masses up, and now you got every motherfucker believing in the divinity of indie horror games that just simply do the opposite of what bad horror games do. Because in order to make a good horror game, you gotta look at games like Outlast and just do the opposite of what they do. They do jump scares? Well, don't do jump scares. They have gameplay? Well, don't have any gameplay. And then of course you end up with Iron Lung. I love being locked up in one room pressing two buttons for an hour straight. I of course choose to ignore the frightening lore that makes the background up. And so that is where I come in, to spearhead yet another age of profound wisdom. Blue donkey wisdom, but wisdom nonetheless, because it seems to me that horror game enjoyers just aren't eating well as of late. And sure, while you have Iron Lung, 1 hour experience crafted by just one man, it only makes sense to compare to AAA titles like the first half of Resident Evil 7 and Ocarina of Time. One of these games is not like the other, or so you might think. Now, if you're an outsider who has never played Ocarina of Time, me bringing it up and comparing it to Iron Lung and Resident Evil 7 will seem like a prime indicator of substance abuse, okay? And while I don't deny any of these allegations, I will go forth and double down on my claim that this Nintendo game, rated E for everyone, is among the best, most fucked up horror experiences anyone can ever ask for. I have played many a horror game, and my donkey ass deduced that what makes a good horror game is the subversion of expectations and overall fuckery. Opening Omori up to what seems like a colorful, cutesy game made for children, even though the game is tagged as psychological horror on its Steam page, that's the type of overall bullshit I like to see in my horror games. But when it comes to the Zelda series, most people will pick Majora's Mask as the darkest Zelda game. It is a game dealing with the end of the world at its surface after all, with the characters around you all either denying it or just giving up. But some donkeys, myself included, have made it their life's mission to preach about the horror under the guise that is Kingdom of Hyrule and Ocarina of Time. Once ruled by the mortal goddess Hylia, after the golden goddesses created the realm of course, her sacred bloodline went on to eventually form the royal family of Hyrule. The kingdom is lively, with a bustling town center and a beautiful landscape that make the surroundings up. You of course don't get to enjoy any of that. Playing as Link in the Kokiri Forest, you might as well be in North Korea, alright? Because the Kokiri are a very superstitious people. Answering to the great Deku tree that looks over their home, they say that if you're not a native and if you were to ever leave the forest, you transform into a skeleton monster known as a Stalfos. You naturally think it's all bullshit, and so you decide to dip, and as you're about to leave the forest, ooh, it seems Mr. Kim Jong-un has a bone to pick with you. Now, a particular thing about the Kokiri people is that each one of them has an assigned fairy, and when I said that you can't leave the forest lest you become Sans himself, I was kinda lying to you, as you can technically leave so long as you have a fairy to guide you out of the aptly named Lost Woods. You, playing as Link of course, are the only motherfucker in the Kokiri forest to not have a fairy. You have no bitches, but thankfully the great Deku tree summons you after he gets a gut feeling that a great calamity is about to unfold, and so he assigns you a fairy, telling you, and I quote, "So go figure it out or something, lol," before he has a stroke and fucking dies. And so you go inside him. That does sound horribly wrong, but it is here that you finally get a taste of something unusual, you see. The game started out in this bright green little area, serving as a kind of tutorial for you to get used to the first iteration of the 3D mechanics in this series. And the whole time, this lighthearted cartoony theme accompanied the section every step of the way. But then, in the first practical dungeon of the game, when you enter the tree, all of that suddenly shifts in the opposite direction. No longer are you in a bright and lively little area with cartoony music playing in the background. It's the polar opposite. In the Black Ops 1 Zombies map Moon, we see the same trick used in rather clear-cut fashion. The juxtaposition of starting out in this lively little area and then suddenly getting placed in what might as well be limbo. Just nothingness. Our primal monkey brains have not undergone enough evolution to deal with this bullshit, let me tell you. And that is of course my obligatory COD Zombies reference that I just have to make. Legend has it that approximately 99.9% of the people that watch my videos literally left this one as soon as they realized it wasn't about COD Zombies for real. Ocarina of Time is the Zombies map Moon on crack. It does the same classic juxtaposition trick multiple times throughout the game, and I have to mention how this trick is rather common in media. Since I brought Omori up, you start out with what might as well be a game made for children with its colorful art style and wacky characters and dialogue, which then transforms into something that will give you long-lasting trauma. I of course relish being on the receiving end of a proverbial anal fisting that is Omori's psychological facet. The important thing to know is how you don't spend too much time inside the tree. You spend like 10 to 15 minutes tops before you're thrown back out in the lively little area you started out in. This time, allowed to venture out into the outside world, right after your best friend Saria gives you this little ocarina as a farewell gift. Now this marks the true start of your game, with you making your way to the Hyrule Castle, while avoiding the feds of course by taking the back alleys, though you meet this man in those alleys who tells you that you must immediately meet the Princess Zelda. And I'm sure you just fell asleep. You finally meet Princess Zelda, the descendant of the goddess Hylia, who tells you all about these little prophetic dreams she's been having of this man who wants to steal the Triforce and condemn the realm into darkness. This in turn reveals that Zelda is, in fact, a schizo. To understand what the Triforce really is, you have to know that when the golden goddesses created the realm out from the abyss of their darkened assholes, the byproduct happened to be the sacred artifact with 3 distinct partitions. The Triforce of Power, Wisdom, and Courage. Now any motherfucker who wields all 3 can have any wish of theirs come into fruition, practically allowing them to become a god. They want Zombies Chronicles 2, they'll have it. But if you were to touch the Triforce for the first time, unless your soul had a balance of equal parts power, wisdom, and courage, only the partition their soul leans more toward would be granted to them. When it comes to Ganon, of course, he is a Gerudo king, with the Gerudo themselves being a race of 7-foot tall mommy GFs. I of course have a natural inclination to support mommy GF matriarchies in real life, but it is said that every century a Gerudo male is born and is deemed king. And it just so turned out that this one particular king in Ocarina of Time had desires to partake in a copious amount of tomfoolery. Now it's at this point that your game's main objective is practically set, and the details are not particularly important when it comes to how this game subverts your expectations. You see, the game goes on rather fine for a couple of hours, with you completing a set of dungeons, defeating a couple bosses, and getting some side items. Really, the only thing that sticks out is what might as well be the most terrifying part of the game, in which you're tricked into an arranged marriage. But then, of course, you eventually return to Hyrule Castle, only to be greeted by oh no. You make your way through the town center to the Temple of Time, in which you use 3 key items that you've acquired through the dungeon so far, opening up a hidden room containing the Master Sword, said to be a sword only one who is worthy can pull out and use, a sword no evil can touch. You of course are still a kid, a baby bitch, so to speak, and so you find that the sages that represent every race in the kingdom tasked to guard the realm lock you up in a basement for 7 years till you become an adult who can finally wield the Master Sword and kill Ganondorf. Boy, I can't wait to beat his bitch at the fucking juxtaposition. You see, when it comes to Iron Lung, I had watched Power Pack's video on it, followed by Pyro's take on it, without even actually playing the game myself first. I knew about every little trick that the game pulls on you, whether we're talking about the fucking pictures or how the game messes with you in the middle. The most alluring and captivating aspect of Iron Lung is how it subverts your expectations and messes with your mind. And so you can imagine, when I finally tried Iron Lung out, my experience wasn't as good as it could have been had I played the game before watching any one of those great videos. That's not to say it's not my fault, I obviously signed up for just that. Though still, I have to mention that I did end up enjoying the game, but if I hadn't missed out on that surprise element, it really would have taken the experience to a whole other level. Instead of a dreadful, anxiety-inducing playthrough of Iron Lung followed by 2 masterclass videos exploring its charms, I just got the 2 masterclass videos exploring the game's charms, alright? Completely on me. And when it comes to Ocarina of Time, I had known about the scene in which you have a 7-year time skip into an apocalyptic shell of what used to be Hyrule. My first game in the series that I completed was Breath of the Wild, and I was looking into playing other titles in the franchise. And what sold me on Ocarina of Time was precisely this scene. I didn't bother investigating too much into it. Just at first glance, I knew that this would be a meth-fueled experience that I would absolutely adore. Yet unlike my reaction to Iron Lung's being that of the live slug reaction, my reaction to this scene in Ocarina was as if I had never known about it to begin with. The game takes its sweet ass time, edging you and making you drop your guard before it even starts taking its clothes off, you see. I'd been hours and hours into this game, and truthfully, I'd completely forgotten that this even happens. And so when time did skip, and I exited the temple to be greeted by this, followed by what only could have been inferred as the zombified remains of this town's previous inhabitants, I was not prepared. I thought I had some bootleg copy of this game, fucking creepypasta Zelda.exe shit. I went down the paths to the actual castle only to see it floating in a pool of lava. Like, fuck this shit, bro. Zelda can save her own stupid ass for real, for real. Now when you pull the Master Sword out from the ground, you fail to realize that it also acts as a key, opening the Sacred Realm up, which houses the one and only Triforce we've gotten so familiar with. Ganondorf, of course, becomes severely horny over that reality and thanks Link before stealing the Triforce. Now, me and you both know this motherfucker doesn't even look like a noble and respectable man, alright? Ain't no way his soul has a perfect balance of power, wisdom, and courage, alright? It leans more toward power, and so the Triforce decides to split, and the wisdom part goes to Zelda, while the courage part goes to yo stupid ass. Now, around the midpoint of this game is when there really is a persisting dramatic shift in tone. When you return to your childhood home as an adult, only to see its remains there instead, with some of the most unsettling music I've ever heard in a video game accompanying it. I saw this section of the game symbolizing a loss of childhood innocence more than anything, embodying that even if you were to forcibly go back to your childhood home, no one would be there to greet you. Everyone either moved on or just died. The dungeon here is my favorite one in the game, with its twisting corridors shamelessly stolen from the Near Automata Church, and just overall fuckery, bro. Like, can't forget the Wall Master. Never had I been so captivated and just drawn into any level of any game as much as I had been with the Forest Temple. There's nothing technically amiss with the temple at face value, but the entire time I was in there, I had this persisting feeling of, I really shouldn't be here. Not long after, you'll have to enter the decrepit Kakariko village, only to see it set on fire. As a convicted arsonist, I have to approve, of course. For reasons that I just simply cannot explain without implying substance abuse, you have to go down the village's well, their very own water source, because you believe it to be a source of a particular evil. Now, going down this well, you really start to question how badly contaminated their water supply had been all along. The truth is, that was the actual horror story all along. Hidetaka Miyazaki, I told you to stay out of my video game. When discussing the horror of Ocarina of Time, the easiest embodiment to bring up would be this section of the game. Not only does the whole juxtaposition idea play into effect here, it's taken in a direction I could have never anticipated. Again, what started out as a bright and lively little game turned into you fighting this cum monster in bloody catacombs, and this whole area of the game is a perfect segue into the Shadow Temple. Historically a torture chamber used by the royals to interrogate their enemies, they didn't want to get their hands dirty, of course, so they enlisted the Sheikah to do their dirty work for them. It is of course taboo to speak of this blood-stained Shadow Temple that does not look to be in too much disrepair for some reason. Now, I was concerned about the extent of the contamination when it came to the Kakariko village's water supply, but what I should have been concerned about is how much meth the water supply of Nintendo's very own HQ had to be contaminated with, because I ain't got a nary a fucking clue as to how they gave the go-ahead to put an idea like this in a Zelda game rated E for everyone. Like, not even the blood-stained torture chambers, alright? But just the idea that the idealistic quote-unquote good guys do horribly fucked up things themselves in a game game like this. Not to mention that kids actually played this shit and considered it normal. Like, I don't know if kids back in the 90s were just built different, but fuck bro, the fact that Nintendo released this as a family-friendly game, yet put shit like this in it, like that is a godly amount of tomfoolery. You know, when you play Omori or Doki Doki or whatever, you're playing for that darker hidden aspect. With Ocarina of Time though, no one would ever pick it up for any other reason besides that, oh, it's another fun fantasy Zelda game. The series later on, of course, became popular for its subtle dark elements, as well as its not so subtle dark elements, what with the bloodstained Shadow Temple sex dungeon. In fact, many people pick it up for its darker elements. I was one of those people when it came to Ocarina. Though it's kind of cool how it's never really the selling point or the main focus of any of these games. In fairness, the Zelda games would not be what they are without their dark undertones, but I really do believe that it just hits harder when these elements are in games that serve another purpose. These games aren't exactly horror games, yet you have bullshit like this in them. Goddamn, like Shigeru Miyamoto, you got me again for real. The Shadow Temple, of course, comes very close to being just as good as the Forest Temple in my eyes, and maybe even equates it. It's a pretty quirky and creative dungeon in a game that it wouldn't normally have any right fitting into. Like, you could put this shit into Bloodborne and it fit right in, to be honest. Everything leading to its main boss. Sweet cosmic horrors beyond my comprehension. The worst thing is that it shows remnants of humanity still left within it, with its amputated hands and its upside down humanoid upper body. Yet it all looks so unsettling. I wonder what they'll name it. Bongo Bongo. The team really do be designing Bloodborne as cosmic horrors that make you nauseous just by even looking at the designs, and end up naming it some goofy ass shit like Phantom Shadow Beast, Skippy McDippy. One thing I have to give them credit for is how the boss plays bongos, and the main theme of this dungeon that accompanies your 30-minute journey mainly has bongos playing in it, as if the boss himself is playing along. It's really cool foreshadowing. They should have done the same for the final boss of this game. When it comes to this game's traditional horror, it more or less ends there, sadly. But I argue that this game's more horrific sides have to do with the fate of Link more than anything. You see, naturally the game has you fighting with the one and only Ganondorf at the end, who's very talented at playing the organ, admittedly, for reasons that I simply cannot explain once more without the risk of sounding like an addict. He transforms into a bloodborne beast that you simply put down. The important thing here is how the princess rewards your unmatched bravery. He sends you back in time to continue living your life out as a kid, as if Ganon never existed, as if you had never skipped 7 years forward in time. But she lets you keep your memories, of course. Now you'll find yourself in a very, very big fucking dilemma. Your very childhood innocence has been forcibly taken away from you, what with your whole journey of taking Ganondorf down, and to put it simply, you've seen shit schizos wouldn't even dream of seeing. Now not only has all of your effort been practically undone, you go on unremembered for your heroism, completely forgotten. Worst of all, you don't even have a place to really call home anymore. You decide to go on chasing the one thing that you had linking you back to your childhood, your fairy that you now lose, your only true companion through all the bullshit that you went through. Now gone. Risking it all, you head into the Lost Woods all alone. And instead of finding your fairy, you come face to face with a motherfucker that partakes in so much tomfoolery that he just puts everyone else to shame, man. Goddamn. He traps you in the reality of Termina, and the events of Majora's Mask then take place. But what's important is that after everything practically goes back to normal, you exit Termina and head back into Hyrule, giving up on your search of your fairy. You marry, have kids, gamble away your child support money, the usual fares of getting older, and to say you feel proud of your life looking back would be the biggest joke anyone could ever make. You head into the Lost Woods once more, with a lifetime's worth of pent-up regret and frustration. However, this time, you don't come back out. Your story ends there, for the moment. In the personified continuation of the story, you show up once more as Astolphos, teaching your furry Gen Z teenager descendant to prevent the same calamity you were forgotten for stopping. Any Link born after Ocarina of Time can't fight. All they know is McDonald's, charge their phone, twerk, be a furry, eat hot chip, and I believe there's a very horrifying reality painted with the fate of Link here, simply because it's relatable. You can empathize with the person growing up and losing their childhood innocence. We all go through it ourselves in our own ways. And then he's forgotten, cast aside, regardless of the innumerable lives he saved through his bravery and sacrifice, only to become the very thing he was sworn to destroy. A monster. Now, okay, I'm kind of lying there with the last part, as it's debated he never actually even turned into Astolphos, but rather married, had kids, lived normally, but just with severe pent-up regret and frustration so bad that his spirit was never able to rest, and that his spirit later helps his furry descendant. alleviating some of his built-up regret. The main thing to take away here is that regardless of how much crack cocaine you think that the writers smoked to write this story, the people who make fan theories about this story smoke even more crack cocaine. Now this showcase comes from a man who goes by the name Bear of Drugs, but soon you'll come to realize how there's probably been some mistranslation with the word off, as it may very well be just the opposite. But I think the game is built on conspiracy. The great Deku tree steals a child from a very young age from a Hylian woman. He cuts out his tongue so he can never speak. He raises him to think he's a Kokiri and then sacrifices himself to brainwash the child into thinking that a dark man from the east is the cause of evil in the world. Now, this is the point everyone would write him off, but I'm willing to give him a chance, alright? Meanwhile, the king of Hyrule and his oppressive communist regime— okay, I know, I'm out of here. This schizophrenic rambling I call a video was brought to you by these handsome gentlemen and/or ladies and/or neither. The truth is, I don't discriminate. I simply judge a character based on whether or not they have funded my monthly need for capri-suns. If I could put them in the wood smash tier, I would. And there's no reason you can't join the sacred list. Hand over the capri-suns.